Hey guys, Morgan Wright Builder back with some final kit review. I know some of you guys have been looking forward to this one, or hoping that I'd get to it sometime soon. Sorry it took me a little longer than I thought it was going to, but this is going to be the final kit build review for 3 different grades of the RX 179. Nope, RX 178 Gundam Mark II, the Titans version of all 3 of them. So we're going to start out with the real grade, move into the master grade, and then finally we'll do the perfect grade for it. So I really enjoyed building all 3 of these kits. As you can see, the real grade has quite a bit of flexibility in it. They did a good job double jointing pretty much all of the joints, both the arms and the legs. I did not do the decals on this one yet. They're water slides. I've never done water slides before. I will get around to them. I will tell you, I did not get the Bandai water slides because I couldn't find a set, so I ended up with the DL model decal ones for just the Mark II, but they should work just fine for the Titans as well. I believe it actually comes with a full set of the Titans in there, so get around to those eventually, and we'll, if nothing else, post some pictures in the comments for it. For the real grade and the master grade, I did get these. They came from USA Gundam store. I do a lot of business with them. Thought I could put a prog out there for them. They're a great company based out of Central Eastern Florida. They usually have pretty good stock, are phenomenal with their shipping, and about 98% of the time really good on responding to emails and customer stuff. So I have a really good proc with them. So without further ado, here is the real grade Mark II Titans. This one will eventually have all of the 03 markings on it for Titans Unit 3. As you see me go through these, you'll see the other 2 marking sets on them. So far, a lot of really good detail on this model. It does have some clear green pieces for the 2 shoulder lights. I don't use a whole lot of decals, but what I do typically is in the weapons for that, in the head units, and up in the top, as well as the eyes. And I'll pull it closer and do a little more detail once we get around to the just main parts of it. Does come with a pretty good array of weapons between the beam rifle, the bazooka. It's got the little head Vulcan units, a pair of beam sabers, a really nice movable shield. So, I mean, for all it's worth, it was really interesting. I will say the little felt pieces in the back of the knees were a little interesting for me. I'd never done anything like those before. It was actually quite a bit of fun to do them. I did take some model glue once I had gotten them in there, because it comes with a little piece of wire as well, and put a little bit of, once I got the model glue in and got the piece set where it was supposed to be, I did throw a little bit of model glue on the outside of it just to stiffen it up a little bit, so didn't have to worry about it popping out. As you can see, there's some pretty good color articulation on this, even with just a little red piece on the shield, the yellow up and under on both sides of the legs for the effects on that. It overall felt pretty good building this model. As you can see, there's a little bit of felt there as well. So I mean, I definitely can't complain about the real grade version of this. It was a little different to build than some of the other real grades that I've done. If you saw my review on the original RX-78 Gundam, I felt like this one went together better, and the joints are a little stiffer in it, which I do like. So, otherwise, I mean, it was a fun little model to build. It was obviously not too crazy. So, uh, for the beam rifle, it does have the removable spots for the ammo cartridge, with the extra two having spots to sit up there. In the shield, it also has a drop down sight on it, so you can flip that up and down. It's got the extra moving handle on the side. I did like the hands on this one, mostly because the trigger finger is legitimately separated like it should be, and they did a good job of actually making them posable hands rather than just giving you another hand that specifically is there to hold the rifle and for no other reason. So, I mean, I've seen some kits like that, and I'm not a huge fan of those types of hands. And if you didn't notice, I do have the secondary bazooka pack there on one side, and you actually can put the beam rifle on the other side, facing either direction. It's got a universal little spot for it on the side skirts. It's just a little rough to get in there sometimes. Part of it's because I'm not holding the side skirt down while I do it. There goes one of the verniers. That is one of the things I've noticed about a lot of the real grade models that I've built over the time, is the verniers tend to fall out. Bazooka holds in pretty well in the back. It's just kind of set in there though, so do be careful with that if you're looking at that. I'll put the vernier back on real quick. So, I mean, I'm sure a little bit of a layer of model glue over the ball under the vernier would be more than enough to hold it in. But like I said, the extra bazooka pack, there's one there, and then it's not an actual bazooka pack, but it's supposed to look like rounds sitting there in the shield. Obviously, I had him reaching back to grab one of the beam sabers. Not a big deal there. Was a little bit of an interesting pose to try and get done in the first place, but once I got it there, it really made some sense. So those have the standard peg in them, and then actually on the backpack they have a spot where the peg actually goes in to really make sure that it's held in place, and you don't have to worry about any of that. There's not a whole lot of movable armor. Another vernier gone. On the arms for this, but I mean, you've got all your standard. You got your standard articulations for everything. Double jointed arms. We'll pull the shield off here, just so that's out of the way. There we go. Hand armor falling off. So some of this I may eventually glue. A really good movement on the hands, all the way each direction. Your standard movements there. So you could, ball joint there. Wow, I'm just trying to pull it all apart. Your double jointed elbow, which that's got a little bit of armor movement in it. Your standard joint there. You do have an extra joint in the shoulder, so you've got some up and down movement there, and then it's also got an extra joint actually up and in there. So, I mean, that was kind of nice. It was just a little bit different. So, moving on, your standard, double leg joint as well. That's got a little bit of armor movement in it. Not much. The top one's got a little bit of armor movement in it, not much. But, I mean, overall, it seems to pose really well. I didn't have any issues with that. So, this one, unlike the other two, does not have a pull-out leg piece, and I'll show you what I'm talking about when we get to those. The good news is all of the weapons parts do come off no problem. So even the Vulcan head unit comes off. Everything moves pretty well. The only downfall on this one is it is a little hard to get into the cockpit if you were trying to do a pose for that. Whoops. Listen, I'm just trying to pull it all apart today, so give me a second here to grab something to pull that down with. So it's really hard to see into the cockpit on this one, and there's not a whole lot to be done about it, unfortunately. It just doesn't have really a whole lot of cockpit capability, so I don't think there's anything in this cockpit anyways. No, there's no guy in this cockpit, so it didn't come with one either, so I mean, it was what it was, but overall fun model to build. So it poses really well, poses really easily, so I mean, you always got whatever you need for him. So without further ado, we will remove this one from the mat, and we will move on to the Master Grade version. Oh, before I move on to the Master Grade version, it does have a collapsible shield. So the shield will collapse down. It's got room in there for it, even with this piece down at the bottom, to collapse pretty much all the way. So you'll see that again in the other two versions of this. So, I mean, it works really well, looks really well. It'll probably look better once I have the decals on it. But, moving on to the Master Grade version. There we go. So hopefully you guys have still a good view of all of that. Master Grade version, I enjoyed building a little bit more than the real grade. As usual, the decals were a little easier on this one because it does come with dry rubs. I did use a couple of non-dry rub stickers, just in weird spots where it didn't have a dry rub for it, and I didn't like not having that decal there. I liked the look of the decal. I may try and find water slides for it eventually, like one right back up in here, and then there was one up on the front, I believe, that I used as well, and I think those are the only two standard stickers I used on the model. But they were in weird spots, and I didn't want to lose them or lose the look from having that there, and I'm hoping I can find a couple more dry rubs for a couple other things on it, even if I gotta pull them out of the PG dry rub, as long as they're small enough. Obviously I took the Master Grade, put Unit 2 on it, just kind of where my preference was at on it. Again, you know, well-armed beam rifle, 2 beam sabers, the shield, the bazooka, and the Vulcan head unit. I think this one actually looks really good. It was a little different. Up in the head is dark blue, which I'm not complaining about at all. I actually think it looks really, really good that way. So the build was great, a lot of fun. Definitely took a little longer than the real grade did, which is fine. I feel like it's supposed to do that anyways. So we will get into a little bit more on the articulation on this one. So obviously the beam sabers are there. They still do fit up into the backpack area. This one actually has the pegs on the backpack for the beam sabers to connect into. So again, they will hold in well the way they're supposed to. Alright, let's see. We'll move into the shield first this time, being as, you know, almost forgot to do it last time. This one, like the other one, collapses down. This one goes a little bit farther, I think just because it doesn't have the extra bazooka casing at the bottom. Matter of fact, it didn't even come with an extra one. So, not a big deal there either way. I'm not too worried about it. The shield looks good though, good color separation again. This one obviously got the decal on. So, move a little bit into the beam rifle. Standard stuff on the beam rifle again. The magazine casings do come off. The extra two are currently up in the top of the shield. So these ones actually click in a little tighter, which is nice because then I don't have to worry about them falling out. The top of the lens cover for the rifle still drops down. Still have the side handle on that, so that looks good. We'll pull the bazooka out real quick, which actually this was a little different for me. Actually, pressure fits down in there, so like actually clicks into place, which is kind of a nice feeling. Whereas the one on the real grade just kind of sat in there. The bazooka handle moved forward and backward a little bit, allowing for some posing. The bazooka ammo still pops out of there, just like on the real grade, can be set up and in on the side skirt. So I will tell you, they don't hold in there real well, so be careful posing so you don't lose it. Like, I dropped mine and I think it took me like 10 minutes to find it, so back in there. Still got the Vulcan head pod, which I do like. They did really good color separation on this one. The antenna moves on this one, so that's always nice. This one, the cockpit is a little easier to open on. However, does not like to stay open. At least the top piece doesn't. So this one does have a pilot in there. I know it's a little hard to see with my lighting and all that, but is what it is. So other than that, again, double arm joints, nice. So full movement there. Double leg joints. This one with a little bit more movement on the armor, both in here and on the knee. So full range of mobility there. Again, they did the felt on the back. I did like it. I did put some glue on those to make sure they were going to stay where they're at, both up in here, and up on the backpack. And then they did some fun stuff with this with some of the color separation. They gave some chrome parts in a couple of different spots, really that being the most notable one. So that was a nice feature. It gives a nice little touch to it, and I think it looks really well. This one, however, does not have quite the same shoulder movement, but it's still got all your standard range, and it does still have some extra movement in there. So outside of that, you got a three finger set, a 1 finger set for your trigger and a thumb. I do like the fact that they did that delineation again on this one, so you get your standard full head root movement, forward and back, side to side, up, down, turn, however you want to move it. So again, a really fun model to build. So the color separation, pretty good on this one again. The verniers on this one seem to stay on a little bit better than the other ones, so full movement on where the beam saber sits. So, and this one, did it not have it? Nope, also doesn't have it, so just your standard leg armor. Sorry. Obviously standard movement, or well, improved movement in the feet, so at least the front part of it has a real good bend to it. You get a lot of movement in the feet, really, so that's kind of nice. And other than that, that's about it for the master grade. Like I said, I think it looks really good. Might need a few more decals at some point, but I'll get around to those eventually. So we will go ahead and move on to, I'm sure, the coup d'etat, what everybody's waiting for, the perfect grade. So, currently coming onto the probably not quite big enough for it stand, and definitely too big for where the camera's sitting, the Perfect Grade Mark II Titans. This is an extremely detailed model. I had as much fun building this one as I did with my Banshee from Unicorn, and eventually there will be a review for that one as well. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. So this, I will say, is not the most stable model. At least not the most stable one I've built. So I'm going to be a little bit more careful with this probably, but I will show you all of the features on it. Standard, beam rifle, your bazooka, your beam sabers up in the back, the Vulcan head pod, and I will bring the shield in here in just a minute. I did like what they did with this one. They took all the felt out and replaced it with little like link chains. I actually think they look really good in there. They took the yellow out of the legs and put orange in, which I also think looks phenomenal. Each of those flaps is actually on a little line piece that so they all move together, and I'll get into showing you that at some point through this. So also the flaps in the chest, which you probably can't see yet, but you will be able to once I move the beam rifle and all that stuff, do move as well. So I'll get into a little bit of that as we're going here. I will say, all the hands and fingers are individually jointed, like at least like the other Perfect Grade that I built. This is only my second Perfect Grade, so I can't progress that they're all the same, but at least the two that I've built have been. And there goes my thumb. There we go. So again, standard beam rifle, standard removable magazine. The other two are still on the shield. You got that joint. You still have the up and down for the lens. This lens is clear. They did not give a green decal or anything for it, so I don't know what else to tell you about that. It'll probably get painted green at some point. I'll try and find some clear paint or something. And that was the other thing on these, is these weapons actually have dropout spots, so you can fold the pegs that go into the hands flat on them. So that is completely up to you. It really just kind of depends, and just like in the other ones, you can hang the rifle, as long as you can get it in there right, on the side skirt. Unfortunately, currently, I seem to be having some issues with that, but it does hang on there, I promise you. There it goes. So, it does stick up into the armpit pretty far, so you may have to be a little careful trying to get it on there and doing anything with it while it's on there. This, for the bazooka, is unlike both of the other two. This one actually slides into place on a small peg in there. Goes up into the bottom and locks in, so you can actually kind of lock it into place on there. So that was a bit different for me, but when I realized that I actually really liked that, I liked that feature. So same thing with the bazooka. You got the drop-down handle for it. This one, again, only comes with one pod. However, this pod has some missiles in it and can also go right there on the side skirt, just like the other two. So we'll get the bazooka and all of that out of the way so we can continue on this lovely journey through these three models. I will bring the shield out now. Again, you've got the extra two magazines for the beam rifle in there. You have two options for attaching this to the arm, actually. So let me get at least one of the arms set. And I'll just put both arms back where I need them. Some of the joints are a little stiff, which is fine. I wish the leg joints were a little bit more stiff. I may have to eventually get that back apart and go. It does have a set just to put it under the back of the arm, which it just slides in there into the hole. You can move the arm as is, or if you want, this piece actually pops back off. Well, actually, even without that, you can slide it right into the back of the arm, and then you have some movable delineation to that. Or it will also go a little bit of a different way if you want. If you want to stick it on the actual arm piece, plug it into the back of the arm and click it on so it's actually on the side of the arm, and you can have it float free. I did like that feature on the shield. I think it's a good idea to give you a couple of different ways of mounting it, and I just thought it ended up being a really good idea for that. So we'll get that out of the way, and we'll get into some of the actual movement stuff on this in just a second once I get the Vulcan pod out of the way. So the Vulcan pod was a little different in this one again. It's nice. It's got a bendable piece in the back. Not that it seems to matter too much. You pretty much almost have to have it all the way straight over to get it to fit on the head. Again, the antenna moves. Not quite as good a color separation on this one. There's no red in the side of this, so I'll have to get around to painting that at some point. But otherwise, Vulcan pod's pretty good. I like it. And into the model now. So this model was very different from what I'm used to. Well, I can't say that because my other model was the unicorn, so this one's actually very much like the other one that I was used to. A lot of movable panel parts on this model. So we'll kind of get into that stuff here in a second. We'll go into the basics. Obviously, you know, you got your cockpit spot. This one actually comes out a little bit before it goes up and drops down, and then it's actually got a ball pod in there with a secondary door with the pilot in there. So that was kind of an interesting way of doing things. This model does come with a couple of LEDs. However, I do not have batteries for the LEDs yet, so there'll probably be some pictures or something posted eventually for that. I'll try and make sure I get them either into the comments below, or do another short video or something for this model with the LEDs. Like I said, the vent fins in this actually move. I think they're all the way down, so they don't move a lot, but they do move a little bit, so you can pop them up or pop them down, however you want it to look. So the vent fins in the legs do as well. All four sets, both sets on each side, are independent, so those will close and open. They are a little stiff sometimes, and they were a complete pain in the butt to put in there. And I will tell you, if you're building this model, be very, very careful and pay attention to it. They are all different sizes. They are each an individual different size, especially for the legs. I don't remember quite so much for the chest vents. I'm pretty sure those were kind of universal, so I didn't think I had to worry about those quite as much. So, other than that, you've got some extra arm movement. It does come with an extra piece in there, so you can move it forward and back, some extra up and down. You still have that piece to go even farther up if you want. I mean, you can get some good articulation on the arms with the way this model is set up. I mean, a lot. So you can go way up with it. So that was actually pretty nice. I wasn't really expecting quite that much on it, so they did a great job with that. Alright, into some of the panel stuff. Obviously the arms and legs are double jointed just like the rest of them, so I'm not going to go into that again. But the panels are a little different. So this one, you've got a lot of movement on panels. You've got the front and backs of both both shoulders pop out, can go up and forward and down. You have the actual tops of them that can go up with some nice little detailing in there that I'm sure you know, some people would try and paint. I'm just not that good of a painter, so that's not going to happen. Here on the shoulders, you have two panels that go up and show a little bit of color separation and some really good detail in there if you wanted to paint some of that. We'll come back to the head. I kind of want to save that one for last just because I thought it was really cool. The front piece for the arm pops out and goes down, showing some detail there. A little bit more detail down in the wrist. Both of those do that, so that was kind of a neat little extra feature on there. Obviously, there's still a lot of separation in the legs with some extra chains in there. Still got that nice double jointed knee, a whole bunch of stuff in that. And then here was the one that really got me. The leg will pop out, and then the front panel will actually pop out and drop down. So you can literally, and this one actually pops out and down as well. And they did some another nice color separation in there. I'm sure I could detail that a little better at some point, but I did want to get this video out. I know some people have been waiting for it, and I promised it like a week and a half ago, and it didn't happen. So oh, that was the other part, is they did some more chrome pieces. Put one up there. They did the chrome down at the legs again, so that was that's kind of nice for that. But both legs do this. I thought it was a really neat feature. Really good detail for them to put something like that in there, and not outrageously hard to get in and out, which is obviously nice. Not super easy, but not super hard, so if you wanted to change the pose every once in a while, it's not outrageous to try and do it. And then I'm going to try and get you guys up a little bit higher and a little closer to the head so we can get a little better detail on the panels on the head. So, first of all, the top part does pop up a little bit, and the two side panels will actually, let me keep the headpiece in. Side panels for the head actually pop out and come forward. And then the top piece will actually jump back and give you some access to the lens up there. So, I mean, they did a really good job with a lot of the articulation on this. I really like the way it ends up looking. At one point I had it all the way opened up, all the panels up and sideways. Actually, I'll do that real quick. It doesn't take me real long to do. And then I'll start the turntable again, and you guys will be able to see all of it all at the same time as it turns on my turntable, because I bought one of those little turntable stands because I thought they were cool. So give me just a second here to get it fully opened up. I'm only going to do one of the two legs just because if I do both of the legs, the turntable literally will not be able to handle how far I've got to put the legs apart. So actually I'll open up the cockpit and everything else as well. We're going to close the head for just a second. We'll open up the panels at the top and reopen the head. And then once I'm done with this, I will release you guys and let you go back to your whatever you do when you're not watching me on YouTube, which is hopefully something a little more interesting than watching me on YouTube. Though I do appreciate you guys watching me on YouTube, don't get me wrong at all. I do really appreciate you taking a little bit of time out of your day and watching what is probably not the greatest videos, but it's something I enjoy doing and will continue to do regardless of comments. So we'll go ahead and start the rotation on this. Like I said, it's all opened up, really good articulation, really good detailing on the opening for it. Just had an absolute blast building this model. So hopefully maybe you'll get around to building one yourself. If you do, like I said, be very careful with the vents. They are a pain. I won't lie, the little chains that are in there for the gold and stuff on the back of the legs and all that are a little bit of a pain to do, but they end up being really good looking when you're done with them. So I mean, I'm not complaining by any means on that. So they were just a little more interesting to do than I was used to. They looked really well, and I think they actually were a better match than the felt on the other two grades of this model. So I guess without further ado, thanks for watching. If you haven't already, please click the subscribe button down below. If you have and you're already one of my subscribers, thank you for coming back for another very extended episode of one of my model reviews for, I guess, 3 models this time. So outside of that, thanks a lot, have a good day, and we will see you guys next time.